It started with a mistake, a moment where I should have spoken up, but I didn't. I still remember the first time I saw him. Noticed him, really. He was taller than me, younger too. Clean cut, the kind of confidence that isn't earned but assumed. He walked into our backyard like he belonged there, like my home was his playground. My wife, Claire, greeted him with a laugh I hadn't heard in a long time, the kind that starts in the chest and spills out like champagne. "Oh, this is my brother," she said quickly when he glanced at me. She didn't look at me when she said it. He nodded, extended a hand, and I took it. That's when the lie began. I could have corrected her. I could have said, "No, I'm her husband." But I didn't. I shook his hand. I nodded. I let her have that lie, and in doing so, I gave him permission to exist inside our marriage. It wasn't bravery. It wasn't strategy. It was a mix of confusion and numbness, a kind of emotional paralysis I hadn't felt since my father's funeral. Afterwards, I asked her why she said it. She shrugged. "It just slipped out. You were in your garden clothes. I didn't want to make things weird." That stung more than I let on. Garden clothes? I had just spent 3 hours mowing the lawn, trimming the hedges, cleaning the patio, getting everything ready for the barbecue she insisted on hosting. But I let it go. Like I let a lot of things go. Claire and I had been married for 9 years. The early years were good. Not perfect, but full of promise. She was spontaneous, adventurous, the kind of person who booked plane tickets on a whim and danced in the kitchen with a glass of wine in her hand. I was the anchor, quiet, steady, careful. We balanced each other. But over time, balance became distance. I buried myself in work, and she found other things, other people, to fill the gaps. The cracks started showing a year before that barbecue. Her phone started living face down on the counter. She'd smile at texts she didn't share with me. She took longer to get ready, started dressing like she was going somewhere I wasn't invited. I confronted her once, gently. "Is everything okay with us?" I asked. She looked up from her laptop and frowned like I had interrupted her favorite show. "Don't be dramatic." So I stopped asking, stopped noticing, at least pretended to. But letting him think I was her brother? That was the moment I stopped pretending. I started watching. His name was Sean. At least that's what he told me. Worked in sales, something tech-adjacent, lots of jargon, little substance. He came around more often. Claire always had a reason. He was helping her with the garage renovation, advising her on a new business idea, dropping off some tools. He always shook my hand like we were equals, like he wasn't sleeping with my wife. One night, Claire left her phone on the kitchen table while she showered. It lit up, a text from S. I didn't mean to read it. I didn't. But my hand moved before my head did. "Last night was unreal. You taste like heaven." My hands trembled. I didn't feel rage. Just cold. Like something inside me had been turned off. When she came back downstairs, I was washing dishes. "Hey," she said casually, "want to watch something?" I looked at her. Really looked. And something in me, something I hadn't felt in years, hardened. "No, I think I'll head to bed." I stayed up, of course. Not to fight. Not to accuse. But to plan. For the next few weeks, I played my part. The quiet brother-in-law. The guy in the background. I even helped Sean fix a leaky faucet in the guest bathroom one Saturday. He brought beers. We talked about sports. I nodded and smiled while he bragged about crypto. Claire brought us snacks, kissed my cheek like we were still married. Like the marriage she was torching didn't deserve to be mourned. I never raised my voice. Never let on. But every moment, every laugh, every touch they thought they were hiding, I logged it. Not in a notebook, but in my mind. Like laying out the evidence in a courtroom only I could see. I began moving money. Small transactions at first. Shifting savings to solo accounts. Reworking my business equity. Forming a trust. Every night while Claire watched her shows, I'd sit beside her with my laptop, nodding along while drafting documents that would make her name vanish from our assets. I hired a private investigator. Clean, discreet, expensive. He got the job done. Photos. Hotel invoices. Voice recordings. Even GPS logs showing her car parked outside Sean's apartment overnight. I didn't cry. Not once. That's what surprised me the most. I thought there'd be heartbreak. Anger. Something. But I felt resolved. Like I was slowly closing the door to a room I used to love. She asked for a divorce 2 months later. We were sitting on the porch. She lit a cigarette, a habit she'd picked up recently, and didn't even look at me when she said it. "I think we should separate." I nodded. "Okay." She blinked. "You're not going to fight me on it." No, she didn't know what to do with that. She expected drama, maybe even a tearful plea, but I gave her stillness. We filed jointly. No contest. Amicable. On paper, it was the cleanest divorce our lawyer had ever seen. But the hearing? That was the moment I waited for. We had a month before the court hearing. For weeks of small talk and separate bedrooms. She acted relieved, almost giddy, like she had peeled off the last layer of something that used to suffocate her. I didn't react. I just got up early, made coffee, worked. Same as always. The difference was I wasn't living in our marriage anymore. I was staging its funeral. Sean was still around. More confident now, showing up without pretense. Once I passed him in the driveway. He gave me a nod, like we were old friends. Still thought I was her brother. She let him. He once dropped off a six-pack and called me big guy. I nearly laughed. Claire was inside, watching from the window. I caught her gaze, and she looked away. She didn't know how much I knew. She thought I was still playing dumb. That was her greatest miscalculation. I spent those weeks finalizing everything. The financial firewall I'd built was nearly complete. The PI had delivered everything I needed, and my attorney, Ron Carter, a seasoned divorce lawyer who looked like a retired prizefighter, said the file was airtight. She's not getting a dime beyond what you let her. Good, I said. No spousal support? No. She'll push back. I know. Let her. Ron leaned back in his chair, studying me. You're not angry? I'm tired. But not angry. Not anymore. He nodded, slowly. You're a rare one. The day of the hearing arrived on a Thursday. Bright skies. Crisp fall air. Claire wore a white dress. I wish I was joking. Not cream. Not beige. White. Like it was some kind of wedding sequel. Sean came, too. He wore a navy suit, nervous energy radiating off him. Probably thought she needed emotional support. Or maybe he thought he was finally stepping into the light. As if this hearing was the ceremony that would hand her over to him. He sat in the back row. I didn't acknowledge him. Claire was confident, almost smug. She laughed with her attorney, flipped through her phone, legs crossed like she was posing for a photo shoot. Then the judge entered. Papers shuffled. Formalities followed. And then the numbers came. Ron stood, clearing his throat. Your Honor, my client has submitted full financial disclosure and supporting documentation. Claire's attorney objected, saying they hadn't received adequate detail on some of the business structures. The judge waved it off. This court has reviewed the filings. All entities, trusts, and holdings were established prior to the divorce proceedings and are not subject to division. Claire frowned. The judge continued. According to the documents, Mr. Mercer's personal assets total approximately $53,000 in liquid funds. His company is owned by an irrevocable trust. The house is leased via an LLC, and all vehicles are company assets. Claire's mouth parted. Her attorney turned to her, whispering fiercely. I could see her eyes scanning the room like the walls had started caving in. She looked at me then. Really looked. For the first time in months. But I didn't look back. I looked through her. Sean leaned forward in his seat, visibly confused. He didn't understand what was happening. I caught his eye, and for the first time, I saw fear there. He realized I wasn't the brother. When the judge called for a recess, I stood, slowly. Walked right past Claire and her stunned expression. Right past Sean and his sweaty palms. I paused in front of him. He rose from his seat, uncertain, nervous. I extended my hand. He looked at it like it was a trick. But he shook it. Pleasure, I said, voice level. And in that one moment, that exact second our hands met, I saw everything he didn't say on his face. The recognition, the shame, the realization. He'd slept with another man's wife, lied to his face, took his kindness for ignorance. And now that man was walking away with dignity while he was left holding the bag. The look on his face, it was worth every sleepless night, every ounce of patience, every moment I swallowed instead of shouting. Because he knew. He'd been used. Played. Just like I had been. Only I had made peace with it. He was just beginning to realize the weight of what he'd stepped into. Claire caught up with me outside the courthouse. You planned this, she hissed. All of it. I didn't stop walking. No. You planned it. I just didn't interrupt. You made me look like a fool. I stopped then. Looked her dead in the eyes. No, Claire. You did that on your own. You thought I'd break. I didn't. You thought I'd beg. I won't. You thought I'd hand over my life to you, and now you're angry I didn't. Her lips trembled. We could have handled this like adults. We did. I just happened to be the only one who knew what that meant. She didn't have a reply, just stood there, shaking slightly. Sean joined her a moment later, silent. I turned to leave. I didn't look back. That night, I sat on my porch with a glass of bourbon. Not celebrating, not grieving, just breathing. 9 years. Reduced to a file, a hearing, a handshake. But also, 9 years. Survived. Dismantled. Understood. Some people look for closure in a clean break. A dramatic confrontation. I found mine in something simpler. Quiet, strategic truth. And the face of the man who thought I was her brother. I didn't go home right away that night. Instead, I drove. No destination, just the road and the low hum of the engine beneath me. Windows down, air sharp with autumn. The kind of night that makes you feel like something's ending. Or beginning. Maybe both. I passed the places we used to go. Our first apartment. The corner cafe where she said she loved me for the first time. The park bench where she cried after her mother's diagnosis. All ghosts now. And I didn't flinch. Funny thing about grief, it's loud at first. Thunderous. But if you listen long enough, it becomes weather. A low-pressure system moving through your life. Eventually, you just carry an umbrella. People asked questions in the weeks that followed. Mutual friends. Curious coworkers. What happened? She seemed so happy. Did you cheat? Did she? I never gave details. I just said, we grew apart. That was enough for the ones who mattered. The rest faded away, like the decor in a house you stop noticing after living in it for too long. Sean didn't come around anymore. I saw his car once, parked outside the yoga studio she now taught at. A downgrade, I suppose, from what she imagined she'd be doing. I heard the business she was trying to start collapsed. Investors pulled out. Credit ran dry. Claire messaged me once. A long paragraph. Apologizing. Explaining. Asking if I'd ever consider grabbing coffee. I didn't respond. Not because I hated her, I didn't. Not anymore. But because peace requires space. And she didn't belong in mine anymore. One Sunday, months after the divorce, I ran into her sister at a bookstore. She looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. Then she smiled. You look good, she said. Different. I feel different. We stood in the biography aisle, surrounded by other people's lives. She didn't ask about Claire. I didn't volunteer. But before we parted, she said something that stuck with me. She never thought you'd have the strength to walk away. But you didn't just walk away. You walked through it. That was the first time I really felt it. Closure. Not the kind the movies promise. Not a big speech or some grand public reckoning. Just a quiet nod in a bookstore. I sold the house. Moved across the river to a small loft. Minimalist. Clean lines. Wooden floors and exposed brick. A place with no history. No shared toothbrushes or echoes of fights in the hallway. Just me, a record player, and the steady rhythm of my own time. I started gardening again, on the roof this time. Tomatoes, basil, even lavender. Something about watching things grow. Slowly, deliberately. My mornings were mine again. Black coffee. No small talk. No pretending. And when I shook hands in meetings now, I looked people in the eye with a calm they couldn't quite name. They didn't know the story behind it. But I did. One evening, I found myself at a networking event. New industry. New city. Someone asked if I was married. I smiled, warm but detached. Not anymore. The woman laughed lightly. Lucky escape? I didn't join the joke. No, I said. Just a necessary one. And that's the truth. Claire wasn't a villain. She was a storm. Beautiful. Chaotic. Unpredictable. I loved her deeply. But not every storm is meant to be weathered forever. Some are meant to teach you how to build stronger walls. How to recognize the cracks in your foundation. She taught me that. Sean. He was just wind in the trees. Loud, but never lasting. I think about that handshake sometimes. That brief moment where my skin met his, and all the lies fell between us like shattered glass. The way his eyes darted. The sudden stillness in his body. He expected rage. Or shame. But he got something worse. Clarity. Because I didn't need to win. I just needed him to understand that I was never the fool in the story. I was the one who waited. Who watched. Who chose his moment not to hurt, but to heal himself completely. That's what he saw in my eyes when I shook his hand at the divorce hearing. And that look on his face? It wasn't victory. It was release.